A Giants podcast for Giants fans
By Giants fans.
from the offseason through the wins and the losses. It's time to take one Giant step.
Who's got it better than us? Nobody. Welcome inside One Giant Step. It's the John Harbaugh press conference reaction episode of One Giant Step. But if you would have told me about 5 years ago when I began this, I guess it's been 5. I've lost track. 2022, I did the whole show with the Tino. Bryce came along about 2 years ago, some in between years. But if you were to tell me I was doing an episode reacting to John Harbaugh becoming the coach of the New York Giants, first of all, I'd say, well, what the hell went wrong the 5 years that we were doing the podcast? Second of all, I'd be like, are you serious? John Harbaugh is the coach of the Giants. Yes, he is. So we're going to get into some house cleaning or anything, but this is an important episode, I think, because for me personally, and you know me, if you follow me, if you're just a One Giant Step listener, this one's special for you. If you're somebody that follows me along the Evan and Tiki show with Shaun Morash, we were on the road from the Giants facility. We got to speak with Joe Schoen. We got to speak with John Harbaugh. Some interesting stuff to come out of that. And we were there present for the press conference, all the sights, sounds, and getting to be in the building. It was the first Giants head coach press conference I was ever at, by the way. But this is my first time, like, post-car ride home that I've been able to collect my thoughts and deliver them right here. So this is like, you know, I know you probably get enough Giant content from me ever. This is it, man. You got a lot from me here. So I'm going to bounce some stuff off Bryce. But house cleaning stuff. First of all, immediately, you could just see the impact of John Harbaugh, Bryce, from this standpoint. We show up today. Evan Roberts gets there before I do. We park our cars. There's like a little media lot off to the side. We're not nearly VIP enough to park even closer. It is, 6 degrees outside. So the way the facility works, and I'm guessing most of you have never been in the facility, is you kind of walk through these doors. There's like a little security thing, and you've probably seen the videos with the big murals and all this stuff, like where Harbaugh was walking in with his wife. Beginning today, essentially, they have ripped up everything. The cafeteria, the locker room. They are making immediate upgrades to the entire facility. So when you hear that John Harbaugh wanted to have full control and well, full control is the wrong word, but you know what I mean? Like, upgrade everything head to toe and have say in everything. He came in, saw the facility, and they have literally, now maybe they were trying to do some of this anyway, but like everything is getting redone.
Yeah, I hardly doubt that he's like head of construction.
From what I understand, though, this was part of the discussions. He had to go through the blueprints of it, what he wanted out of the locker room. Like, dude, I have been at enough training camps, enough practices to tell you that today's visit to the Giant facility was different. So for all the talk and all the haggling over the couple days of what John Harbaugh wanted, things are different. So we park. It is freezing cold. We go to walk into the facility. We can't get through. They do this whole scan. Now we have to walk around the outside to go to the Quest Diagnostics, like the farmhouse, if you will, whatever you want to call it. I'm already forgetting. You know what I mean? The indoor practice kind of thing. That's where this was. Million chairs set up. And I've been there for like coach press conference. Like, this was the introductory one. Million chairs set up. We had a great setup, private tent. And like, you just feel the energy. I mean, a lot of Mara family members. Kate Mara, the actress, was in the building. It was just, but the greetings, the warmness, like, not that the Giants ever disrespected me in any regard or the station in any regard, but you could tell it was almost like going like where you used to go to a McDonald's and now you're at a Chick-fil-A where it's like, how are you, good sir? And just
because they know One Giant Step. That's clearly why they're
but anyway,
like that. Yeah.
A lot of the good, you know, whether it's Pat Hanlon, Dion, all of those that work in like the Giants PR staff, my hat goes off to them. I mean, white glove treatment. They were awesome today. Took care of us with some like lunch after. I just wanted to say that because I know they believe me, Bryce, they listen. They should know that, you know, it was much appreciated. Also, getting to speak to a lot of the reporters, some of which we've had on this show, and a lot of those have been friends. I feel like I should be doing this because I've already gotten to comb through some of this since I've gotten home. Jordan Renan, our friend Jordan Renan, wrote this book, okay? It came out a couple months ago. The New York Giants, A Curated History of Big Blue, the franchise. Forward by Victor Cruz. How the Giants became the Giants. Great hardcover. No problem saying this. Jordan handed me a copy. I've been a terrible friend. Didn't go to Barnes & Noble and buy it. But starting to comb through this, if you're a Giant fan looking to get excited about the Giants and the glory days, I'm pubbing this book for free. Jordan doesn't even know I'm doing this. The book so far is really, really good. The forward by Victor Cruz I thought was excellent. Maybe revealing on some of Jordan's service.
Read?
Not normally, which is why I'm pubbing the book. Because for me to actually even get through 5 pages tells me I'm in. My wife actually laughed at me a little while ago when she just said, "What the hell are you doing?" I was on the She goes, "You read?" I go, "I'm going to try." I'm pumped. The Giants have invigorated me here, Bryce. So I'm going to get all your thoughts on what you heard, what you saw, and everything. But just, a couple bullet points. The energy, all of that, the excitement. Here's my takeaway. We have overreacted to Joe Judge giving you we're going to play blue-collar Giants football. We probably overreacted to the suit that Ben McAdoo wore. Even in Jetland, maybe we underrated the eyes darting all over the place with the taco thing. I made a vow to myself. I'm not going to overreact or underreact to certain things. But I just think the standard reaction here, and we got to speak to Coach Harbaugh after on our show, and I'll kind of give some thoughts on, actually being really around him. But it's a guy who just gets it, man. Like, he was direct with the players when I saw him. And ultimately, it's this. If you're excited as a Giant fan today, and you should be. If you're an excited Giant fan clicking on this podcast, you should be. I'm not here to wave the pom-poms and tell you this team's going to be a Super Bowl team in the next 5 years. I hope they are. I'm not here to wave the pom-poms and go, there's no doubt about it, they're winning the NFC East next year. But I could guarantee you this, and we said it, but I'm even more sure of this. At the very least, this organization, you could feel the energy, you could feel the difference, and the floor has been raised significantly. What does that mean for year one? We'll see how the offseason unfolds, and I look forward to doing these podcasts and talking about all the moves they do. But Bryce, the Giants are picking 5th in the draft this year. I don't expect the Giants to have 4 wins next year. Does that mean they have 10? Maybe not, but I don't expect those days of oh my God, here we are in December. They're going to win games they shouldn't. That conversation should stop. And I think at a bare minimum, we have now put our foot forward with that after hearing John Harbaugh speak. Your reaction?
To what? My reaction to all these things you said?
Well, everything I said, but how about you listen to John Harbaugh at all? Your thoughts. You got to hear him.
I did listen to your interview, and I got to say, you sounded as nervous as I did the first time that I did this podcast. I've never heard Shaun like that.
Really?
Fair. It's John Harbaugh. You kind of stuttered a little. I'm listening.
Can I defend myself?
It's John Harbaugh. You don't need to defend yourself. I just think it's more than funny.
That. It's more than that. We had just
gotten
a big suit.
If you look very professional, you feel like you probably feel all uptight in your neck. I don't like wearing a suit. You're talking to John Harbaugh.
It's going to shock you. It's going to shock you, and it's going to lead to something I'm going to say about Joe Schoen. There was an energy, and everybody was pumped up in that building. But also in that moment, dude, we're in the last hour of the show, and we're late on spots that have to be played because we ran the press conference, and there was a couple things I knew we had to get in. I think it was a combination of, okay, I get this is really important. I want to make sure I have the couple questions I want to ask, and we'll talk about those in a little bit because I thought they were more X's and O type stuff. I asked about analytics. I asked about the coaching staff, Brasillo, which is seemingly Giant fans have reacted to in a positive way. But it was that plus keeping an eye on. It's also my job to maintain back at the studio with the commercial. So that was kind of a little inside radio stuff. But all right, so you listen to Harbaugh on with us. What was your takeaway with it?
There's an adult in the room. Straight up, there's an adult in the room. The way he communicated with you guys, the way he responded and reacted to a lot of the questions, I feel like it's just we have maturity now. And listen, these guys are NFL head coaches. They've been through the ringer. I'm talking about, the McAdoos, the Shermers of the world. They've built up their careers, but this guy has the career. This guy is as proven as any guy who's ever stepped foot in that building, coach or not. Straight up, any guy in there. Tom Coughlin, even he wasn't as accomplished as John Harbaugh is right now for the first time. Either way, I love the interview. I got fired up from that. I think you did a good job. I think Evan and Tiki did a great job as well. And he just comes across so authentic. He seems like this is a football guy. This is the guy I want to be around as a player. This is the guy I want to buy into. We talk a lot, with the Knicks right now. No one wants to buy into Mike Brown. That will not be the case with John Harbaugh. I had to bring that. I had to put that little nugget in there. But yeah, I really enjoyed that interview. And if you haven't seen it, it's on the WFAN YouTube. Now I'm plugging you guys. But yeah, it was a good interview. What else do you want me to say? You didn't really hear a lot more different. Besides, you guys asked a couple good questions. His conversations with Lamar and with the Ravens owner. That was all interesting stuff. And I'm very glad that you brought up Carmen Brasillo and you were the one to kind of answer the Giants fans, plea of bring this guy back. And you're the one who brought it directly to his face. So props to you. I love that from you. And yeah, you seemed a little nervous.
Okay. That's, by the way, I'm going to have to go back. I haven't seen any of it. I haven't gone back and re-listened to any of it or seen any of it. So let's talk about that Carmen Brasillo answer because I have seen some Twitter reaction to it. I know Doug Rush posted something. I'm seeing other comments about it. He is meeting with the internal leftover staff tomorrow, I believe is what he said. And he'll go over it. Now, what I did not know at the time I asked that question, and I've seen some scuttlebutt after, is that I guess in a scrum, he was also asked about the staff, and Carmen Bracillo he mentioned that his father, who was a big talking point, like John Harbaugh's father went and watched tape. They had to go to the John. I thought that part was so cool. I thought that was actually the coolest part of the press conference. So I even asked him about his dad and everything. But I guess his dad also brought up that he liked the way the O-line was moving, brought up Carmen Bracillo to him as well. So I didn't know that when I had asked him about the staff, and I said, we like Bracillo. I thought that was important to get in there because if I'm going to vouch for any guy and just kind of speak from a Giants fan's point of view, let him know, we know how long our O-line has sucked, and that meant a lot. And if he's going to preach physicality, I don't know if he has any relationship to him. I don't know if he's going to keep him ultimately, but I did what I could to kind of put in that good word. But knowing that his father had also already said that, I thought that was important because John's reaction or coach's reaction to what I said was basically a lot of people kind of saying that or whatever. So hopefully Carmen Bracillo stays. Look, as far as the other coaches, if he keeps other coaches, fine. I trust John Harbaugh's eye for that. If he has a better offensive line coach, hey, look, so be it. But we know, Bryce, the struggle that was the Giants O-line and what the fix has been, and it really has been since Carmen Bracillo arrived here. So I thought that was interesting, and I thought that was interesting that he was open and honest about that. Now, the other question I'd asked him as far as, there was that story, I think it was Albert Breer's story, about how he wanted to, upgrade the analytics, and there was even a thought of, he always gets in Baltimore, the updated, percentages and odds in his head. So I tried to ask him the best I could, what he meant by the analytics stuff. I didn't necessarily I don't think he gave you a lot with the answer. He kind of just, analytics is this, analytics is that.
Just watching film.
Yeah, it's basically watching film. Well, I mean, so analytics is not going for it on fourth down. Yeah. Wish I could have snuck in another follow-up there. And obviously he was very, very high on talking about Jackson Dart, and how could you not? And just the other message too from everything was, and he looked at Joe Schoen when he said this too, which was, we want, if you don't love football, I think it was the comment from the actual press conference, get the hell out. And he was staring at all those guys. A lot of the offensive linemen were there, Marcus Bowe, John Michael Schmitz, and I saw them all nodding along with it, man. That seems so silly to say, hey, if you don't like football, get out. But it does matter because you can love being an athlete and everything that comes with it, but do you actually love the work that goes into football and winning? And that's the kind of coach he is. I know that sounds silly, but there is a difference, and he was preaching that.
Yeah, I mean, you look at a guy like Evan Neal. Can you say that he loves football? Can he say that John Harbaugh would have held on to him an extra year? Can he say that he wouldn't have traded him when he had at least some value going into the season? Oh, correct. Look at him. He's trying out at guard. He could be a really good guard. I mean, I was singing his praises. Why not trade him then? Maybe John Harbaugh would have traded him before the season. But you look at a guy like that. So I think it was kind of a message towards every player on the team, but it's so simple. It's the bare minimum. You love football. Right. That's it. That. And that's all he's saying. And I think it was a message to the team. It's a message to all the past Giants players of seems like you guys didn't really love the game of football. People did care. Trust me, people in the past have been pissed off with the losing, and other people haven't. They're just looking for a paycheck. And they're in and out the door. They're, through the revolving door, go to another team. Some people actually care about this Giants team. And some people, hopefully most people going forward, really love football.
Yeah. Look, you have to. You have to. Obviously, very important. Now, another thing he did, and he addressed it on with us, and he addressed it in the press conference. I expect the floor to be raised, right? I just kind of started that. The ceiling, I don't know. And I think I kind of have this ever-evolving opinion on I'll know what I'm looking for when I'm looking for it. You know what I mean? In terms of, it's easy to say you got to go win 10 games, but I think it's more convoluted than that. I don't expect the team to win 4 games, but they could make the playoffs at 8 and 9 next year, or they could miss the playoffs at 10 wins next year. So I don't think it's necessarily about making the playoffs. It's just, are you a competitive football team? He said flat out, hey, the goal is to be a world champion here. That's a good goal, but he didn't say that for next year. And he said, all we could do is I can't tell you what we're going to be next year. I need to go. I think that's an honest answer, and I appreciate that. The last thing I want you to do is fluff up the opening press conference by telling me, hey, we demand, we expect to be back in the playoffs next year. Be honest, be realistic, but keep the door open that you believe you should be good. You believe you should be competitive, but don't put that pressure on your players before you've even met with the players. And I thought that was honest and easy. And I did get a kick out of him laughing when I told him flat out, I'll take being in the hunt graphic.
Yeah, that was good.
Did you hear him laugh at that?
Yes, I did.
He thought that was pretty funny. And I think that's true, Bryce. So where are you at in terms of expectations and John Harbaugh kind of speaking from the heart on his expectations here for the immediacy of this year?
I like just the fact that he outlined how things are going to change. You hear a lot from new head coaches. Like they just get up to the podium. They say, we're going to change the culture around here. We're going to win. We have Super Bowl expert. Every coach says that, right?
Yeah.
Every single coach says that exact same thing. And we hear a guy like John Harbaugh come up to the podium and give you exactly what he's going to do and what he's going to change. Physicality, toughness, all this type of stuff that he's going to change within the organization. We've been asking for it for a while. He went up there and told us exactly what we wanted to hear. And I think for you to say that, and I completely echo the sentiments of like, we don't want to hear Super Bowl. We know this team is not winning the Super Bowl next year. And if we do,
I'd rather be blown away that they do. I'd rather be blown away than they do than have any expectation that they can.
Yeah. I wrote a few notes down. I had a few things, and I really just looked at, the idea of like, we want to have guys who know how to finish. But I think it's pretty funny because, his teams at the Ravens, did not know how to finish. They blew a lot of games, and this Giants team blew a lot of games. So maybe two negatives equal a positive, right?
Yeah.
Like hopefully they
not all blown
together.
Games are the same though. I mean, some of those blown games are fumbling. Mark Andrews dropping a pass. I know we went over. You know what I mean? Like I can't necessarily put that on coaching where some of the Dable stuff, why are you throwing the ball with Dart versus Denver, that kind of stuff.
Also, a little aside here, and not to get political, but it did not go over well with me that the second question was given to a Fox News reporter. Do you know how many guys, and this is me sticking up for all the Giants beat writers, all those guys who busted their asses, all those people who filed deadline after deadline after deadline. They posted all these stories. They talked to their sources. They talked to the fans. And then you're going to give a random guy from Fox News the second question? Whatever it was, the second or the third question before any single Giants beat writer asked the question. I had the thought of like, that's a huge slap in the face to all those guys who busted their asses over the last 2 weeks. That really frustrated me, Shaun. It's not political. It's not. It could have been, MSNBC, whoever, MS Now, CNN, doesn't matter. Why are we allowing someone whose purpose, like there's one purpose there. It's to get the quote on Trump. That's it.
Yeah.
What about all the people who busted their asses with, with filing deadlines and all that kind of stuff? And like, it's not political. It's not. It's the fact that these people deserved the honor of asking the first few questions. The fact that a Fox News reporter got to ask it first infuriated me. I had to say that on this podcast. It was extremely dumb. And if there was one part of that press conference that really bothered me, it was that.
Yeah, look, it's funny you say that because the first reporter, and I don't know their name, and I don't want to be disrespectful. They said they were from the New York Beacon News, which I'm not trying to be disrespectful, man. I understand journalism degrees and stuff. I had not heard of that outlet, but the point is, it wasn't Dan Duggan, it wasn't Jordan Renan. Dude, I wasn't over on that side to see like how the question stuff lined up. Like maybe you had to like get in line for it. Like I really don't know how that was aligned. But to after your point, right? Like there's a lot of people who've been here through the nitty gritty of some of these years. Like, can they go first? And I understand. By the way, this is not hiring Robert Saleh in Tennessee, right? This is John Harbaugh with the New York Giants. Who obviously, and I saw the room today. That was more people than would typically be at one of these, even if it was my first one I was at. Because you've seen them on like TV and so like this was different. Yeah. So I totally understand that there was like expanded media. You're right. There was only one reason that question was asked. I still laughed at the question, but it can't be the second question.
I'm sorry. It was absurd. It was absurd. Really bothered me.
Yeah, I mean, I get, and that's fine. Look, this is your platform to get that off. I totally get that. To me, line up the big dogs that have been there putting in the work. Let them answer the questions, and then let there be a complete free-for-all.
Can we discuss Joe Schoen, or is that something you want to do a little bit later?
I want to do Joe. We're 17 minutes in. That was my next step. I was going to get to Joe Schoen. Okay. So let me talk about Joe Schoen at the podium first, because I know that's kind of spicy, and then we'll get to Joe Schoen because we got to speak to him. I got to speak to him on and off the air, which I thought was important. First of all, the podium stuff. So full disclosure, Bryce, where we were seated, and I had it in the headset, not watching on TV, I did not pick up in person that Joe Schoen was kind of like breathing heavy and everything. I got a couple texts about it, and I'm in the room. I go, what the hell are you guys talking about? So it was so crazy how it came off that way. And by the way, I watched it on screen now. I totally see what everybody was saying. It didn't feel that way in the building. Now, I am not trying to defend Joe Schoen or make excuses. I mentioned the long-winded ways everybody was getting there. When Joe Schoen then arrives in the facility, because I watched this whole walk-in, he walks in with John Harbaugh. John Harbaugh then like stops for like a picture with the players. Somebody, I forgot who it was when the public relations like taps Joe Schoen in the air. Joe Schoen is now zigzagging around like the sea of people behind to get back up, and he has to lead the podium. Because remember, ownership is not speaking at the podium at this time. It's going to be Joe Schoen. I do think he was nervous in that moment, right? Because it's on him. Think about it. Usually that opening word delivered is by ownership. John Mara's not speaking. Chris Mara met the media later. There is some nerves that goes to it. I would have preferred he was a little calmer, but I also think he was just kind of all out of sorts. Like he was taking all over the place. He's already walking a mile. And I thought by the end, now you saw him do media. He did media with us. He did a scrum. He did some one-on-ones. He was a lot calmer in those settings, but I do understand everybody's initial reaction to what the hell's going on with Joe Schoen when you see that on TV.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me. I did a little live stream after this, talking this, and
did you? Good job by you.
I had to touch on the Knicks too. I ended up doing like 28 minutes on the Knicks and 17 on the Giants. Yeah, I don't want to stop.
Mike Brown going to be the next fired?
Stop. We're not doing this right now. All right. Joe Schoen, dude, I likened what we saw on the podium today to a middle schooler giving a speech to his entire school. And like, trust me, we had a lot of those in my middle school. And I had to do it at some point too. And I know how that felt. And I know how it looks. And like, think about how much preparation he had for this. We talked about this before in his various other press conferences. Like, think about how many people are prepping him for that. Think about even in the minute he was up there. Think about how many people were prepping him, and his anxiety and his level of nervousness reminds me of myself at times. But like, dude, you're the GM of the New York Giants. What reason do you have to be that nervous? I understand that he understands the magnitude of who is coming after him. But if he's a true equal, if you're truly working hand in hand with that guy, sorry, you shouldn't be that nervous. And listen, I don't mean to disrespect him, but like, look into Zoloft or Lexapro or something. You know?
Come on.
I don't want to do that. But like, listen. I know a lot of people on anti-anxiety medication, but he looked like a mess. He was a mess up there.
Yeah,
that was my first thing. Like 5 seconds in, I'm like, oh boy, this is not good.
Now, he did calm down by the time he joined us, and we got to speak to him. I think we spoke to him before he spoke with reporters. I think we got the first word with him off there. Whatever, it doesn't matter. The interview's on YouTube, WFAN's YouTube there. Obviously, go back. It's podcastable as well. We got to speak to him. I thought he was pretty honest, self-aware, talked about the process. I brought up that, hey, he said the job would be easy to fill. He found John Harbaugh. He even admitted like he heard some rumblings about certain guys that could be out. So that kind of leaves the door, tells you the NFL circles were talking. Overall, I think Joe Schoen, for better or for worse, and we know that we wanted him out. I actually discussed this with Joe off the air. We had a very healthy discussion afterwards. Bottom line is this. I know nobody wants to hear this because it's about the win-loss record. Joe Schoen's a really good dude. He just is like, he's a good guy who gets it, and I can respect this. If you're going to have failures in life or failures in your career, in a public career, don't run and hide from them, own them. And I at the very least, I could say that. Joe Schoen is aware of his failures. He's open about the win-loss record. He is grateful that he's still continuing to have this opportunity, despite many of us, including me, wanting him out. And I think that when you look at the delay that happened in the Harbaugh contract, and Harbaugh kind of alluded to like, hey, there was some stuff going on there. It actually was never about Joe Schoen, because the one thing Joe Schoen was all about was, hey, go report to ownership. That's for ownership to figure out. We will work hand in hand. And I got to think there was probably a little bit of a sense of relief, because Joe Schoen, who takes all the slings like, oh, you failed on Evan Neal, you failed on this. Going forward, let's be honest. What are we all going to say? Joe Schoen's not stupid. If a draft pick fails, are we going to say Joe Schoen failed, or like we're all going to admit that John Harbaugh wanted that guy? Because it seems pretty clear that like those ties are going to, at the very least, they're either in full agreement or a tie is being broken. And I think Joe Schoen understands that. Joe Schoen, I'm not going to tell you everything because it's all off the record and all that kind of stuff. But like, I told him flat out that I thought he was very gracious, and the idea that he takes the criticism like a man. In fact, he said it's part of the gig, and I just thought he was pretty calm and collected on with us. And I am willing. I know not a lot of Giant fans will be. I'm willing to start this era fresh because, like we pointed to, there are some positives that Joe Schoen did. And at the very least, John Harbaugh examined 7 open rosters and picked the Giants. Like, there's a lot of problems with the Giants roster, clearly, but it was appealing enough, including the trade up for Jackson Dart, for John Harbaugh to pick here. So I have no choice now to go forward, and I'm willing to kind of have a clean slate with Joe Schoen. I'm excited about it. Look, it's worked out for other guys. It's seemingly working out for Ryan Poles. It worked out for Jason Licht in Tampa Bay. And we can only hope that we have that kind of success for the general manager on a new leash. I I think everything you said about the nervousness, I get all of that, but
It's
not
a knock.
I felt better. I felt better after he sat on set with us walking away going, all right, Joe Schoen, this is like he could breathe. You know what I mean? Like, this is a big one to have John Harbaugh with him.
Yeah. And I echo that. I have respect for him. The fact that, he hasn't been so indignant when it comes to the criticism that he's gotten. He's kind of taken it in stride and, turned around. He did that whole press conference during the bye week, and a lot of the stuff that he said was pretty frustrating for a lot of fans, and including myself.
That was not easy. You could tell that was not easy.
I understand to every question, but what the hell do you want him to say? There wasn't really a clear answer for all that kind of stuff. He was pleading the fifth, essentially. You look at the guy, and obviously there's some very valid criticisms about him and a lot of the stuff he's done. But Shaun, there's a reason why both of us wanted to keep him after last season.
Right.
There's a reason why. And then just the prevailing sentiment that you continue to lose and continue to blow games, and you lack of depth. And like Javon Holland sucked. Paulson Adebo wasn't as good as everyone made him out to be going into the season. Like all that kind of stuff before the season, we were.
Adebo was hurt more than anything.
Singing his praises. Yeah, but that's part of it. You knew his injury history going into the season. He got injured. You paid him the money, and he got injured. Like that's part of it. You don't get a pass just because he got injured. You signed him knowing well enough that he's been injured in the past in his career, and you gave him money that you should have given Xavier McKinney. But
right, but you can't go back and change.
It's what it is. Yeah,
it is what it is. I'll leave you this to the last funny thing I thought from Joe Schoen. And like he had to get going, and like we get like this like wrap up sign right for PR. I had to sneak it in. It was my last chance to bring up the kicking situation. Did you hear me with Joe Schoen at all bring that up? I said the last thing we got to ask Joe Schoen, I said, and Joe, we're not going to have any games this year without a healthy kicker, are we? I had to get it in, and I respected his answer so much because I felt his answer. His answer was, geez, he goes, the amount of games I did, the punter's hurt here, the kick, and the amount of stuff I had to deal with that. Maybe you don't like hearing that because we were all frustrated, but the way he said it, and I read his body language, you felt the human being in him go, I have all this other crap going on, and the freaking kicker, and then those weeks with Jamie Gillen, remember that week he didn't have the passport situation? Those little things that we screamed and yelled were like the biggest reason he should be fired. I kind of felt for him when I saw his body language and answer, because it wasn't like an uneasiness to the question. It was like, yeah, like you cannot make up this stuff that I had to deal with, the simplest stuff. It was almost like those were just add-ons. And I think he knows. And he also brought up Ben Souls to me, which I thought was interesting too. He goes, well, Ben Souls pretty good, huh? I go, yeah, Souls good, man. I did that little joke to him, worked out. I have to think also, like, I know they probably looked at competition. I would not be stunned if Ben Souls is the kicker week 1 based on that little anecdote back and forth.
They got to try out other guys.
I think he was there. I think he was the shortest guy there when I saw him. I was like, wow, Ben Souls at this press conference.
You gotta sign someone. You gotta draft someone. Like, hey, you can't be your
what? Why can't Ben Souls be the kicker?
Can't be your be all end all.
Why? What's the difference? You're gonna draft a kicker that's the same as Ben Souls.
He had 2 good games. Like, all right, like
but he was good at Pitt too. He was good at Pitt too.
All right, well, you should have started him from the start of the year. There's no guarantees.
I know there's no guarantees, and I'm not competition. But I think they might have found a kicker. That's what I'm saying. And,
all right, fine. And it would be amazing if they did, but you got to do your due diligence,
All right, so we'll wrap with this too. I know the quotes out there. We didn't get to speak with him. Chris Mara was clearly the member of ownership that spoke the most today. He had some interesting things to say. I saw some of the quotes. I still haven't pined through all of them. I know Connor Hughes tweeted out one where he kind of like went in. He was like, the moment the playoffs started, I had to go speak to him. Chris Mara is taking a lot of the bull by the horns. That also feels refreshing. Chris Mara tells it like it is. Seeing him more prevalent and present. If he had a lot to do with closing this deal with Harbaugh, we'll think that's great. And look, that's just a different kind of view on things with the New York Giants. I think that's awesome. So there's a lot of these little anecdotes here, Bryce, that we could go through. Again, me, along with Evan Tiki, obviously the headliners there. We got to speak with both Harbaugh and Schoen. Those are on the WFAN YouTube pages. But we begin anew. Like, this is it, man. The Giants are settled here. So what's going to happen going forward on this podcast? Bryce has some ideas. I have some ideas, right? We're going to have some good, fun off-season stuff. Are you rolling your eyes? Do you not have ideas? I thought you did have ideas.
No, I've got something up with.
We want to revisit the top 10 players list that we did at the beginning of the year. Maybe that's one we do next week or the week after. And then we're going to get into free agency. Yeah, like I'm psyched for that. I can't wait. So we're like a month and a half away from that, which will be awesome. And then the whole draft build up. And then you get cooking with a lot of good fun summer episodes and stuff like that. So we have championship weekend coming up. We'll be back next week with something fun, something go. Maybe there's some more quotes or something that comes out of it. Obviously, maybe we're going to touch on if he retains coaches, hires an offensive coordinator. We're going to have to do stuff like that. So maybe that's
offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator. There's a lot of stuff going forward.
I'm thinking to jump the gun. That might be what we do next week because I'm assuming we're going to have more clarity on that. So download and subscribe to One Giant Step. Okay. When it warrants, we will do more than one a week in the offseason. When it doesn't warrant, you'll get one a week. We will try to get these done early in the week unless we kind of feel like news is going to come later in a week where it doesn't make sense to go as early. If you're a long-time listener to One Giant Step, you know this works. We're more regimented in the regular season. Less regiment, which is why we encourage subscribe. You will get our reactions when Giant news comes your way, plus a lot of the fun stuff we have. And if you have some immediate thoughts, for better or for worse, we're pretty good at interacting on Twitter. At Bryce Gelman.
Let us know.
At Bryce Gelman. We can even pop in some mailbags, by the way, too. I think is something that we should do.
Listen, we've been lazy with that. We got to do it.
We have been lazy. We have been lazy.
We get a lot of comments on YouTube. Like, that's very appreciated as well. I read them. So
you know what's funny? Of all the comments I've ever read in my life, YouTube's like the one I never see. I never check those comments. So
I think they're pretty knowledgeable. Listen, WFAN.
I would say that's probably the place.
Very smart. No,
that's probably the best place to
Twitter's
bash me because I'll never see it. Don't
tell them that. Now they're really going to bash you on here.
At Shaun Morash, at Bryce Gelman on Twitter and X. Thank you, everybody, for taking One Giant Step with us.